I was getting excited about spring until last night, and it snowed again, and it's snowing now, but I guess spring will eventually come. Hi everyone, Nigel, Saunders here. Well, it doesn't feel like spring outside today, but here in the glass greenhouse, I have some signs of spring. My forsythia is flowering and it looks really, really nice. So today I'm going to take you on a tour of the glass greenhouse and show you what the plants are doing. Here is a close-up look at the forsythia. So these were cuttings given to me by Eric and Emma, and this is the third year in a row they've flowered, and it's always spectacular to see them come out in spring. So you see on these forsythias, the flowers come out first. After that, the green leaves come out. So that is the ideal time to prune them, after the flowers are fading away and before the green leaves come out. And you just need to prune them basically once a year, and then that way you get flowers every spring. I heat this glass greenhouse over the winter. I try and keep it just above freezing, and everything in the greenhouse comes out earlier than, trees that aren't heated, the ones in the poly house or the ones that are left outside on the bench. So it kind of helps me spread out the repotting season. I repot everything in the glass greenhouse first, then everything in the poly house, then trees that are out on the bench. My temperate trees, they can be repotted once they start warming up, and then the tropicals. So it kind of spreads my repotting season from now, sometimes, late February to almost the start of June. So I get a lot of time to repot the trees. But timing is still critical. When the buds are swelling and the leaves are just starting to come out is the best time to repot most trees. The tropical trees, the best time to repot those is in the middle of the summer where it's warm and humid and the trees recover very quickly. So now it's time to begin the tour. I'll start the tour in the left-hand corner over here. So here is my paper bark birches, and these ones are out in full leaf. These were started from seed. And I like to only prune these paper bark birches when they're actively growing. So now would be a good time to prune them. I don't like to winter prune these because they're kind of prone to dieback. Yeah. So here is my hop hornbeam, and you can see dragon pots in the background there. You can see it's coming out into leaf now. Here are my crab apples that I grew from seed. These are also coming out into leaf. Even the one up front has got some leaves on the end now. Yeah, so these ones I just threw the whole crab apple in the soil, and whatever sprouted, and I got 3 good crab apple trees started. I have a little clump of grass here that I've got to plant as an accent plant. It's got to get a little pot. And then I've got my eastern white cedar, or Thuja occidentalis here, the clump style. So it's lost its winter color now. It's turned a nice green color. It hasn't started growing yet, but it's definitely kind of lost its winter colors. Beside that is my chickapin oak. The buds are swelling on it. They'll be coming out soon, I guess, probably when the weather warms up a bit. In front of that is my bald cypress that I just repotted recently. No changes to that yet. Beside that is my Douglas fir, the little one, and you can see the buds are coming out on that tree. And there's buds about to pop up near the apex there too. Behind that is my giant sequoia trees, the forest. Still in their winter colors. They haven't turned their nice green yet. Still waiting, hopefully soon. In front of that is my boxwood forest. I don't think it's started to grow yet, but it's definitely greened up a bit. You can see on some of them it's quite a dark green. Yeah, that should be growing soon. Behind that is my pyramidal English oak. and the buds are swelling on it, and the leaves are just starting to come out. You can see the top apex there. So there's several examples of these in my neighborhood, and they do keep their leaves all winter, so that might be a nice display for a winter show someday, is to have, you know, the pyramidal oak with all its winter leaves on. Behind that is my Shimpaku juniper that I gave an initial styling. Lots of work to go on that. And then I've got my large ash tree here. It's starting to leaf out. You can see all the buds they're starting to break. The leaves are starting to come out on those. In front of that is my two royal oaks from the royal oak tree downtown, and the leaves are starting to come out on that. In front of that is a dwarf Hinoki cypress. Not much change to that since I pruned it. Behind that is a willow tree from a seed, and it's starting to leaf out now. Behind that is the junkyard VW Penjing. Yeah, everything's greening up except for that one tree. I don't know what happened to it. I just don't know. It just didn't make it through the winter for some reason, but as I said, I have replacement trees for that. Over here I have my eastern white cedars growing over a rock from seed, and they're doing well. They've greened up, lost their winter colors. Here's my London plane tree forest that I just put together yesterday. No changes to that yet. Behind that is my black locust tree. It's starting to leaf out now. Exciting to see. I have a American elm in the back corner. My $50 juniper challenge tree. You can see how coarse the foliage is on it because it's in such a large pot. It's just super vigorous. So if you compare that to my ones in smaller pots, this is very coarse, rough foliage. But the tree's in development, so I'm going to leave it in the big pot until I get my branch structure kind of sorted and going. I've got some eastern white cedar seedlings there, destined for a forest someday. They've greened up. And here I have my Alberta spruce, my dwarf Alberta spruce, and it is coming out with new needles for this year. So I'm going to repot this. That'll probably be my next repotting project, and not because it needs repotting, but because the pot is falling apart. And I think I can put it in a better looking pot, maybe one of Enzo's pots. So that's it for the upper bench on the left hand side. So now we'll have to go below. So down below here on the left hand side, I have my Douglas fir that I pruned up, kind of removing a lot of the lower branches, trying to develop a fir-like style to it. And here is my Norway maple. That also needs repotting this year. Its buds are swelling on it, it's looking good. Behind that is my buckthorn, my European buckthorn, my smaller one. Buds are swelling on it, and I can see a few leaves just starting to come out on the apex there. So that's exciting to see. And beside that I have Bruce's spruce, the one that Bruce gave me. This thing, it was under the snow and I forgot about it, and it was like bent almost 90 degrees to the pot. And I see now it's starting to straighten up. So, yeah. So that also could use repotting into a better pot, but I think I'll leave it in this pot until it regains its vigor. This is the first year I repotted it. I forget when last year. It may have been out of season, and it just hasn't recovered yet, but it will. It's in good soil. And then in front of that I have my Thuja occidentalis. Yeah, the one I brought into the club for critique night and had all kinds of suggestions on the styling. Yeah, so there'll be more work coming. And then I've got a few maples here, some red maples, I've got my field maples, 2 trays of those that'll be going into a forest this coming Thursday at a club meeting. And then I've got all my pawpaw trees down here. I've got a tray of them and a few pots full, and they all seem to be doing well. No growth on them yet, but that should come. So that's the lower part, the left-hand side. So let's now go up to the right-hand corner here. And I have my small leaf linden in this corner. Buds are swelling nicely on it. It hasn't come out into leaf yet. Here's my holly oak. It's doing well. I didn't repot it. I think it's okay in this pot for now. Here's my juniper I repotted. This was the first tree I repotted this year. So you can see how fine the foliage is on it compared to that other juniper that's in a big pot. It's much, much finer. So you can definitely see what branches I've lost. They haven't greened up, and all the other branches have. So the tree seems to have survived its repotting quite nicely. It's looking nice and healthy. So that's good to see. Behind that is my 2 poplar trees. One is fully in leaf. The other one, the buds are swelling, so I'm hoping that one comes out soon. That's the bigger of the 2. Behind that, or beside that, is my downy willow. Not much activity on that yet. The buds are still kind of swelling, no leaves out yet. In front of that is my Pyrenean oak tree. You can see the leaves coming out on it. That was one that was repotted this spring. Beside that is my cork bark oak. And not too much of a change on it yet. It was repotted also. In front of that is my black maple. It's changed a bit. The buds they've gone from swelling to changing color. You can almost see the leaves coming out on them. So that should be coming into leaf soon. In front of that is my Korean maple. I repotted this. It was one of the first ones I repotted too. And you can see it's leafing out nicely and the leaves look nice and healthy. Behind that is my bird's nest spruce, and the buds are swelling. I can see them all pumped up, but no activity yet. It hasn't come out into needle. Behind that is my trident maple. It's leafed out quite nicely. So I haven't had the shoots extend much yet, but they're starting. And in front of that is my Austrian pine. The big sacrifice branches up here. So I've noticed all the candles are starting to change color, and they'll be extending soon. And there's all kinds of them all over the tree. It looks quite naked at the moment, but once all these back buds start needling out, it should look quite good, I think. I hope. I'll keep my fingers crossed. Behind that is a dwarf, no, it's a cryptomeria. Yeah, and that's probably going to go in the VW Penjing. Behind that is a tree that I'm not sure what it is. Let me show you a close-up. Here it is here. I can't even remember where it came from. Probably Jason, but I'm not sure. I don't know what it is. It could be a crab apple of some sort, or I just don't know. I don't know what that is. And down here is my liquid amber tree. The top doesn't look too good. Last year I had this. It didn't do so well last year. I repotted it and it kind of struggled, and then it grew, and I don't know. It's alive, so that's good. It looks vigorous and healthy, so I think it'll have a good year of growing. And then I'll deal with the styling as the branches start to harden off. In front of that here is my red maple pending with the fisherman down here. I've got to do some work on this. I kind of laid out my pathway through the moss here, and then I've got to trim my moss up. You can see it's getting really bushy. So there'll be some work coming up on that. Behind that is my English yew tree. It has all these pollen cones on it, and I don't know, a few weeks ago when I tapped the tree, all this dust came out from the pollen cones. It's kind of cool to see. Behind that is my Japanese graybark elm, the one that has quite large leaves, and you can see it's all leafing out nicely. That was grown from a seed by Michael, and then he gave it to me as a young seedling. In front of that is my nightshade vine. So I've got suckers coming up from the root stock here, root base, and it's leafing out quite nicely up top, so that's nice to see. Behind that is the bear with the hemlock tree in it. It was created for an April Fool's joke, and it appeared at the Toronto Bonsai Society show. Also as a joke, but it was on display. Behind that is my Russian olive tree. It's leafed out. It's looking really, really good. In front of that is another tree. I'm guessing is a crabapple, but I don't know. I just don't know what that one is. And there's some Hinoki cypress cuttings up here. And behind that, I don't know what this tree is. Could be a crabapple. It could be a eastern redbud. I'm not sure. It could be a poplar. I don't know. It's just one of those trees that I can't even remember where I got it from. Behind that is my two fire thorns. There's the one in the round pot that I'm going to use to plant the bird's nest spruce in, and this will get a different pot. And then I have a smaller one beside it, another fire thorn, and it's flowering. So is this one. It's got all kinds of flower buds coming out on it, so that's kind of exciting. And in front of that is these are the two quince trees that Connor gave me. So there's the one there, and there's the other one there that still kept its flowers even though it was repotted. It has two flowers on it. They're doing well. And then between those is my Arakawa maple. It's looking really nice. It was repotted this year. All the leaves are coming out, and there's a lot of new shoots coming out on it. So once these extend and harden off, I'll be then pruning them back to make it more compact. I left two sets of buds on it, so the first set of buds extends and elongates as sacrifice branches. They get cut off, and then I grow the two branches from the second set of buds. So that's the strategy on that. Behind that is my hawthorn tree. It's looking really, really lush and green. It was one of the first ones to leaf out. Yeah, it's looking good. Here is my Rose of Sharon. It's just starting to leaf out. Behind that is the field maple. That will become part of the forest. It's leafing out. But I think it'll be okay. I don't think the roots will be active yet. So I think I'll create this forest just in time. In front of that is my Virginia creeper ivy vine. And you can see the buds are changing color. It's about to start to grow. Hope you can see that. Behind that is my $12 juniper, my Sabina juniper. That was pruned up recently and repotted. Not much change to it, which is a good sign, but it should have a good summer of growing. Behind that is my black pine, the one I chopped the top off, hoping to get branches down lower, and I did. I got a ton of branches on it. You can see the candles starting to extend. Yeah, so that's coming along nicely. In front of that is another American elm, the one that's got quite a fat trunk to it. Starting to get some nice structure. Beside that is my very rare endangered species blue ash. It is starting to leaf out. The buds are swelling and some of the leaves are coming out now. And in front of that is my silk tree. I think it's a Chinese silk tree. Gets big feathery leaves and it's fairly hardy. This has been in the greenhouse here and it survived a couple of nights that went slightly below zero. So yeah, they're fairly hardy. I think it's in the mimosa family. So that is it for the top of the right hand bench. So now we've got to go below. There's lots of trees in this greenhouse. So down here is my Osage orange forest, and I don't see much activity. The buds are swelling, but nothing's coming out yet. Behind that is the ash tree, the white ash that I cut down. That was from David of the Toronto Club. Not too much activity on that yet. Down on the floor here it's cooler, so trees stay a little more dormant on the floor. Eastern white cedar that I got from Connor, not much activity on that yet. Here's my two other Douglas firs, that the tall ones that I kind of pruned up, got them underway, maybe developing a structure someday on them. Yeah, so they're there. There's a tray of cuttings. I've got, I think they're mostly Trident maple cuttings. I did have some Arakawa maple cuttings in there, but I'm not sure if they're still in there or not. But they're doing well. All the cuttings, the juniper cuttings, the maple cuttings, looking good. I've got a little accent plant down there in a pot, one of Isabella's pots, and it's kind of marsh marigolds and sphagnum moss growing in there, live sphagnum moss. I've got a Hinoki cypress here. I haven't done anything with it. This was given to me by Aaron, and there's some paper bark birches in the back there too. It's one of those trees I've got to get to repot this year. Behind that is my mulberry tree, and it is leafing out. All the buds are turning green and the leaves are just starting to come out on it, which is exciting. In front of that is, I think, what is that? That's a, it has little fruit, native tree. Can't remember the name of it. I'm drawing a blank. I'll come back to it. Behind that is my redwood, my Dawn redwood. Yeah, I'm running shorter names here today. My Dawn redwood, and all the buds are turning green and starting to come out, and there's just a ton of buds coming off the trunk. It's unbelievable. So again, with that one, my idea, like my bald cypress, is to keep it small as possible, which is going to be hard because they're fast-growing trees. I've got my miniature English ivy accent plant there. Some eastern white cedar trees that were from the elephant penjing. My ginkgo is back here. The buds are starting to turn green on that. I've got my two pomegranates down here, not much activity in those yet. I've got my catalpa tree here. I've got these, I don't know if they're spruce or pines. People sent me a whole bunch of seeds in the past, and I had a whole box full of seeds, so I ended up with way too many seeds. I should have just said to people, don't send me any seeds, because I just got way too many. So I had probably 1,000 seeds. So I just threw them all in pots, and whatever came up, and these came up. So I don't know what they are. They could be Italian stone pines. I'm not sure what they are, but they're growing, which is exciting. Here is my wisteria. It's budding up quite nicely. Behind that is my bur oak. It's doing well. Over here is my cotoneaster. It's looking really nice. It's leafing out quite nicely. Yeah, it's looking good. Behind that are some more eastern white cedar seedlings destined for a forest, and more eastern white cedars from that elephant penjing. So I have lots and lots of eastern white cedars that I can put together into a forest. And that completes the tour of the glass greenhouse. So mostly everything is doing quite well. I lost, I think, that one tree in the VW penjing, and there may be a few others that may not survive the repotting so well. I don't know yet. It's too early to tell. Even if you cut off all the roots on some of these trees, they would leaf out in spring, but then they would die. They need that root system to grow then and keep the tree alive for the summer. So it's too early to tell on some of the trees I've repotted, but so far everything is looking good. And that is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.